Hey guys, I'm gonna do a video on my MEPS experience. I'm gonna just focus on the physical portion at MEPS, all the testing and all of that. For this video, it's gonna be a long video just because there is so much that you do and get done. I'm not gonna focus on the stuff that happens after the physical. Mostly because I don't want this video to be too awfully long, and also I had some complications with that come up, so that's a whole nother video. Save you for that. I went to MEPS in Minneapolis. I just went, well, it's been probably a month now almost since I did the physical part, and I've been meaning to do this video. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I apologize. I did take notes from MEPS right after I got back, so I have everything written down. Shouldn't have anything that I've forgotten. So yeah, we'll get to it. I went to MEPS on a Monday, so I stayed at the hotel Sunday night. They told me check in anytime between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. I had to work until 3, so I didn't get to the hotel till about 6:30 or 7. They served dinner. I didn't eat dinner there. I had already eaten before I got to the hotel. Of course, being me, I got lost in the hotel, couldn't find my room, and then when I got to my room, the key didn't work. So I'm like, trying to get the key to unlock the door and all that, and my roommate opens the door and she's like, "Oh, are you in this room?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, doesn't your key work?" And I'm like, "No, that's why I'm standing outside in the hallway instead of in the room." But she was nice. She was a pretty nice girl. She was joining the Marine Corps. So then Monday morning, the wake-up call was at 4:30 in the morning. Checkout time for the room was 5 a.m. And then you had breakfast after you checked out. And then the bus, they said, was coming around 5:40 a.m. So you had plenty of time to eat breakfast and talk with people and do whatever. Um, for breakfast, they did serve breakfast. They had a pretty nice assortment of things. We had scrambled eggs, potatoes, sausage, bacon, fruit, yogurt, juice, coffee, all sorts of stuff. I'm really close to my weight limit requirement, so I ate a fairly light breakfast. My recruiter and the guy that I talked to, who was his boss before I went to MEPS, they both said the same thing. Don't drink coffee, juice. Don't eat a lot of fruit before you go, just because when you do the physical part, coffee and all the juice and all that stuff can affect your results for the testing, and it could come back potentially that you have a problem that you don't actually have. So they just tell you to use caution and not have like energy drinks and all of that before you go. After breakfast, we got lined up to get on the bus to go to MEPS. They put us in two separate lines, people who were shipping out on the left and the people who were going in for processing or, first time there, anything like that was on the right. The people who were not shipping out got on the bus first. We started at the back of the bus and worked our way forward, and then the people who were shipping got on second, went from the front of the bus to the back. We go to MEPS. It was about 15-20 minute drive maybe. Once we got to MEPS, we had to go through security. It's a federal building in Minneapolis, is where the MEPS is, so it's the standard security. You have to go through the metal detector, so they tell you before you go through security, the guard there tells you, oh, you have to consent, no weapons, no drugs, no whatever. By entering through security, you consent to this. You can't have aerosol cans, weapons, drugs, all of that. When you go through the metal detector, you have to take everything out of your pockets. If you're wearing a sweatshirt or a jacket, you have to take that off. If you're wearing a belt, you have to take your belt off. Any electronics that are in your bag or your backpack, they made us take it out of our bags and put it through the little bin and go through the conveyor belt separately from your bag. When I went through, nobody really seemed to have a problem. One guy, his bag, like, it beeped. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I have the hiccups. No. His bag, there was something in his bag, so the guy who was doing the security, like, opened his bag and looked through it and threw something away. I'm not sure what it was, based on the fact that he continued on with the process. It was likely just a can of, like, shaving cream or something. Nobody seemed concerned about it. They just threw it in the trash and he moved on. So it was not likely something serious like a gun or something, because he would not have continued on, I'm sure. Before we went through security, they put everybody who was shipping got to go through security first so they could get their day started, because they're leaving. So they got to go first, and then they did people who were there for just an inspect. They'd already been to MEPS and done other things, and they just needed a form or two or whatever they needed, just a short amount of stuff. Didn't need the full physical. They got to go second, then everybody else went last. So what happened for us is you go up to MEPS. It's on the 3rd floor, so you have to walk up 2 flights of stairs, and they check you in at the central desk, is what they called it, and you wait for them to... There was 2 people doing it. The guy that walked us up to MEPS, and then the lady that actually was working the desk. The lady that was doing the desk, and that's her job, was splitting everybody up by the branch. And so she'd call, like, anybody here for the Army, and then they'd all go up, line up. She'd process them in. The other guy was trying to help to make the process go faster. Fortunately, he didn't really know what he was doing, and so he was just calling people up one at a time and trying to figure out what he was doing as he went. He actually slowed down the process instead of speeding it up, but hey, he tried. Let's see. So once you check in, the system was down, so we couldn't do our fingerprints and photo right away. They just told us to make sure we did it before we left for the day. They send you to your branch office. You drop off your packet of information, which is your background questions, whatever your recruiter sticks in the packet. So if you have any arrests or medical documents or whatever you need that you've talked with your recruiter about, all goes in a folder. They give it to you. You give it to your liaison or your branch. Once you get to MEPS, and then your branch will tell you, thank you, go to medical. So you check in at the central desk, say, okay, I need to go to medical, and then they wave you into medical. Every time you had to go somewhere else, you had to check in at the central desk and tell them where you were going, because they actually typed it in to the computer and the system, so they knew where you were at all times. So yeah, once you get sent back to medical, you go into a room. It looks like a classroom. There's tables and chairs and all that. They split us up into 2 groups, people who needed to take a test and people who didn't. So then they do a briefing. Basically, they just went over everything that was going to go on for the day, what to expect, the medical, tell you not to lie, make sure you don't lie. You fill out some paperwork. Don't get ahead in the paperwork. Otherwise, if you make a mistake or fill out something wrong, they get very upset because they have to reprint the paperwork, and then it just makes the process longer. They get upset. They tell you again, don't lie. They do a little sexual harassment briefing. And what else? Oh, if they tell you that for females, you will never be alone with a male doctor or anything like that. You will always have a female chaperone. That is not something that you can say I don't need. It's not an option. It's mandatory. Not a big deal. Tell you again, do not lie, because they will find out, and all that spiel that they tell you. And then they did a breathalyzer test. They came through with the little tubes or whatever that are all individually wrapped and packaged tell you don't open it until the lady gets to you. You pop it in the machine yourself. Do the breathalyzer test. It's really easy. You just blow on it. It beeps. She looks at it, writes down your results. If you are under 21, it has to read 0 or you will be sent home. They tell you if you're over 21, it also has to read 0. That's not entirely correct, but don't be drunk. I mean, use common sense. After the breathalyzer and the briefing was done, people who needed to take a test got sent over to the testing section at MEPS. Everybody else started in on their physical right away. I personally had to take the PICAT confirmation test. I have a video on the ASVAB or the PICAT. And then I also had to take the little personality test and another test. It was like the cyber test. They forgot to do that for me when I went to MEPS the first time. I did take them later when I took my D-Lab. But you're supposed to take it right away when you do your ASVAB. I don't know how they didn't do it, but they didn't. Whatever. Finish up your testing, whatever test you have to take. If you have to take one, you go back into medical, and then you start all your testing. Sorry, I'm trying to go fast so this video is not ridiculously long. Let's see. The tests, I don't remember what order I took them all in, so I'm just going through all the tests that I did. The order, can you get out of my face? Thank you. Goodness, girl. Order doesn't matter. There's no set order that you have to do them in. It's pretty much just where they have room for you and what you need. But they did tell you that you have to take the P test by noon, otherwise you get sent home for the day, and you have 2 days to take the P test, otherwise you get disqualified. As far as I know, nobody had a problem doing the P test by noon. Just make sure you drink lots and lots of water. P test, it's exactly what you think it is. You pee in a cup and they do their test. They test for females. They test if you're pregnant. Then they also test your protein levels in your urine. Hey, stop. Stop. What else do they test? Drug analysis. They send that off to the lab to do. So yeah, they just do that real quick, some of it, and then they pour it in a cup. You have to watch them seal the cup, use initials saying that you saw them seal the cup, that's your urine in the cup. They'll read you a control number, it matches what's on the cup, it matches what's on your paper, you initial it. You finally get to wash your hands. Yes, they do watch you pee. I didn't have a problem with this. I was not shy. Some people do get shy. Honestly, just look at the floor and pretend they're not there. It's not really anything else you can do about it. Just, you have to pee. Then they do a blood draw, which is, if you're afraid of needles, you might have a problem with it. I'm not personally afraid of needles, so I didn't have an issue. She asked me if I had a preference for which arm. I said no, didn't matter. She chose an arm. She's like, oh, do you want me to tell you when I do it or just, count it down? And I was like, just surprise me. I looked away. It was a pinch, and she's like, okay, you're done. Moved on to the next station. They take your blood pressure. If it's too high, they'll do it again later. I think you have 3 chances for your blood pressure to come back in a normal range. Mine was normal the first time, so I didn't have to redo it. See, vision, they do the colorblind test, which everybody should know what that is by now. It's a little circle that's made up of little dots. Inside that circle is a number that is different colored from the outer circle. If you can see the number, you're not colorblind. If you can't see the number, you're colorblind. I didn't have a problem seeing the color or seeing that there was a number, but my eyesight's pretty bad, so I wasn't sure what number it was, and I kind of guessed on one of them. But I got it right, so they passed me, said I'm not colorblind. And then it's just the regular vision test. You put your head in the little machine and read the smallest line that you can from left to right and all of that. My eyesight's pretty bad. I don't currently have glasses. I don't have a prescription for them, although I do need one. So they wouldn't even let me take the depth perception test because the lady said I wouldn't be able to see the test anyhow. So she wouldn't even let me take it. She said that if I needed the depth test for something, for a job or something, I could come back later with a prescription for glasses and they would let me take it then. Um, I qualified for jobs that I was interested in anyhow, so I don't have plans right now to come back for the depth perception test. Um, but yeah, so if your eyes are bad and you don't have glasses, you might have to come back and do that. Otherwise, you'll just fail it. And either way, then you do the hearing test. It's pretty easy. You just put on headphones. You get a little clicker button. I was the only one in the room when I did my hearing test, so I didn't have to worry about hearing other people. Apparently, the room, you can hear like everything, like people breathing and clicking, and if they're wearing a jacket, you hear the jacket. I was the only one in there, so that wasn't an issue for me. The hearing test, you'll hear beep, 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 and you'll hear low pitch, high pitch, different frequencies. They'll do one ear, and then they'll do the other one, which I was kind of starting to worry about because it was all in one ear, and then there'd be a long pause, and then it'd be the same ear. So I was like, are they doing the other ear and I just can't hear? Or, but then it switched, and I was like, oh, okay. So if you hear a beep, if you think you hear a beep, click the button. Don't go crazy. Don't be one of these people. Click, 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 because they're going to know that you don't know what you're doing. And I mean, just if you think you hear it, click, but don't just go crazy. Then I went to a doctor to answer some questions. It's just a questionnaire that you've already filled out. Do you have a history of this? Have you ever been suicidal, depression? Have you ever smoked pot, done drugs? Do you have any tattoos? Have you ever been arrested? Answer all the questions truthfully. You've already answered them at this point at least twice, so just whatever you said before, say again. Ask, do you drink? Have you ever been fired or sent to treatment for an alcohol problem? Yeah, it's pretty easy. Don't worry about it. I mean, you have already answered the questions twice, at least. So for us, he didn't interrogate you. Like, if you said no, he was like, okay, and he moved on. He wasn't like, are you sure? He didn't try to be sneaky about it. Like, if you said you didn't have a broken bone, he didn't start asking questions about, did you ever fall on your face when you were a kid? He didn't do that. He was just, okay, you said no. Then we went to the physical for the actual physical part. It's like a sports physical. They're just checking that your joints move the way they're supposed to, that you don't have anything that would physically limit your ability to serve in the military. You get into a room with all the females. For me, it was just me and one other girl. It wasn't very awkward at all. You strip down your bra and your panties. There's really nothing to be shy about. Like, for me, it wasn't a big deal. Like, it's not like anybody's staring at you. It's just you're everybody there to do the same thing, So you just focus on what you're supposed to be doing. The room is extremely cold. That's true. I think that's true everywhere. But you just do basic movements. So you squat down. You squat down. You touch your thumb to your shoulders. You raise your arms. You up like this, and then you go down to your thighs. You can't touch your hands together at the top, and you can't slap your thighs. As soon as they told me that, what's the first thing I do? Slap my thighs, and then I start laughing, and the lady's like, yeah, don't do that. Did it a few more times. They were satisfied that I'm okay. You have to drop down onto your knees. Both of your knees have to hit the ground at the same time. You do the duck walk, the famous duck walk. I I had a lot of trouble with the duck walk for some reason. I didn't practice it, but I probably should have. I mean, I didn't feel it. So it wasn't like a physical limitation. I couldn't do the duck walk. I just kept trying to stand up instead of stayed squatted down. So they're like the whole time the lady was kind of chuckling and she's like, don't stand, don't stand, and then turn around. And so I'm like trying really hard not to stand, but at the same time I'm trying to stand, and so I'm kind of doing this, and she's just, the lady doing the test was laughing at me, and she's like, don't stand, don't stand. And then I turn around, walk back to the start, and she kind of laughed, and she's like, okay, you're good. You have to both of your knees on the ground. You have to stand all the way up without taking a step. A trick for that, if you struggle, is to spread your knees apart pretty far. That way when you stand up, you'll have better balance and you won't wobble. At least that's what the lady said for us. And then while we were in the room in our still stripped down, they did our height and our weight. Like I said, I'm pretty close to my weight limit. I'm actually over my weight limit by a few pounds, so I had to get tape measured. Joining the Navy, so their standards for their body fat and their tape measure is pretty lenient, so I passed that, no problems. Then the next step, since we were already in that room in our bra and panties, they just gave us a paper gown, told us to take off our bra and panties. I mean, you're in the paper gown, so you're not just running around butt naked, but then you go into the room with the doctor one-on-one. Our doctor was a male, so we had the female chaperone with us. They just do a breast exam. You know, the lady with us just pulls your gown down. He listens to your heart and your lungs. You lay down for the breast exam. If you've ever had a breast exam, it's all it is just a touch, checking for lumps, nothing too invasive. You lay down on your back, put your feet up. The doctor does take a quick peek at your lady parts. It's literally just a peek. So you lay down, you have your feet up, and you literally, hold on, put my water down so I don't spill everywhere. You have your feet up, your knees together, and then you just spread your legs. He takes a peek and he says, okay, you're good. Our doctor, he did touch your lymph nodes right in your groin area, not actually your vagina. He doesn't actually do that. It's just right where your groin is, your lymph nodes there. He just gives them a quick poke. It's not even anything invasive. When they're looking at you, all he's doing is he's looking for any sort of medical problems that would be obvious, any abnormal discharge, anything like that. It honestly, I was in that room for a minute, if that. So then the doctor goes over once he clears you and you're good, you pass everything, they tell you to go get dressed. Apparently they were concerned about my eyes for some reason, because when I went to the other doctor that asked all the questions, he checks your eyes and your ears. They just take the flashlight and follow you and look in your eyes. For your ears, they just look into your ears, make sure your ears are clean. They have to be able to see your eardrum or into your ear canal. So if you have very dirty ears, they'll either send you home or tell you to go clean them and then come back. But yeah, so I had my eyes checked from that guy, but then the other doctor that did the one-on-one exam also called me back into the office after I got dressed and checked my eyes again. I don't know if that's normal, because the girl that went before me was literally in, out, got dressed, and then left. So I don't know if there was a note in my record somewhere about a concern about my eyes, but the doctor didn't seem concerned about it when he checked it again. He cleared me, said I was good. And so then after your physical, assuming you pass, they make a copy of it, call you back to the desk in medical, and then tell you, here's your copy of your medical record, take it to your branch office, and then you're done with medical for the day. So that's all of that. I took my packet to my branch, my liaison at the Navy office. And then we went from there, and then it went all downhill from there, but that's a different video, different day. Still upset about that whole process, but yeah, so that's the physical part at MEPS. If you have any questions or anything, you can let me know. I'll try to answer anything that I can. But yeah, it's nothing to really be concerned about. Don't freak out about it. It's pretty painless. There's lots of people around, but nobody's judging what you look like or anything like that. It's not really the place for it. You're here for a reason. Everybody's here for the same reason. Just get done what you need to get done. Make sure you drink a lot of water so you can do the pee test. Other than that, yeah, don't lie. Tell the truth. You've already answered all the questions that they ask you before, so you already know what your answers are. So you shouldn't have to think about any of them. But yeah, it's a long day. It's a lot of kind of waiting around. It went pretty fast. Like that whole thing, we started at like 6 in the morning. And then I was done with all the medical stuff by about noon, and that's including my test, my confirmation test. So it goes by pretty quick. It doesn't feel like you're not doing anything ever, but it does make for a long day for sure. Just hang in there, make sure you eat a good breakfast. They do provide lunch, so yeah, you get to eat. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions.